Osgood Perkins has been making waves lately. His previous film, Long Legs, dropped less than a year ago and quickly became one of the most talked about horror releases of 2024. A lot of that buzz came from its marketing, which built up so much anticipation that some viewers felt let down despite its strengths. Personally, I thought it had a bold visual style and a distinct atmosphere that really worked. So, what happens after a filmmaker delivers a breakout horror hit? Do they stick to what worked and go even bigger, or do they take a completely different path? That's where The Monkey comes in. It's not an unintelligent film, but it's noticeably goofier than Long Legs. The Monkey is undeniably eccentric, but there's more substance under the surface than you might think. The film follows two brothers, Hal and Bill, who, as kids, discover a creepy wind-up monkey toy. Soon after, people around them start dying in freak accidents. The first focuses on how the brothers' lives are shaped by their eerie deaths, ultimately driving them apart. The second half of the film follows them as adults. They think that they've left it behind until the monkey resurfaces and starts killing again. The movie is adapted from a lesser-known Stephen King short story in Skeleton Crew. It's not as iconic as it or The Shining, and for good reason. It's a bizarre little tale that, while unsettling, has always felt more weird than terrifying to me. I mean, it's about a haunted wind-up monkey. There's a certain level of absurdity baked into that premise, and Perkins leans into it. The eerie, controlled tension of Long Legs is swapped out for something more playful here, and I'd argue that the movie is much more of a horror comedy. Whether that was intentional or not is up for debate, but there are moments that feel like they could have come from an early 2000s stoner comedy, in the best way. The humor isn't overt, but it's there, especially in the background details. Long Legs had moments like this too, and The Monkey takes it even further, but let's be real. The main reason anyone's watching this is for the kills, and in that department, The Monkey delivers. Without spoiling too much, the deaths are gloriously over the top, almost in the same vein as The Blob. One scene involving a car is particularly unhinged, not the most technically impressive sequence, but the sheer concept makes it a standout, and the first major kill, absolutely deranged. I'd love to know if they used practical effects, because it feels like they did, at least in parts. There's also a well-placed cameo that hits especially well given today's climate and Severance itself. Now, when the movie isn't focused on brutal, inventive deaths, does it hold up? Honestly, even as someone who isn't a die-hard horror film fan, I think it's tough for a movie to sustain itself on nothing but kill scenes. Very few films can pull off a wild roller coaster of non-stop horror insanity, yet somehow never lose steam. The Monkey tries to balance its carnage with an emotional core, but that's where it stumbles. And it's a shame because there's potential for something much deeper. Perkins has a real-life tragic history. His mother died from AIDS and his father was killed in 9/11. A director with a background like that making a movie about a character who's repeatedly witnessed horrifying deaths and feels responsible for them, that's fertile ground for a powerful exploration of grief. The film even flirts with it at times. There's one line that sticks out to me in this case. I know everybody dies, but not at the same time. That suggests something personal, a viewpoint shaped by real loss. The film could have used its humor as a way to process trauma, but instead it feels like it's sidestepping its own emotional weight rather than engaging with it. A big part of that comes down to the character work. The relationship between Theo James and Theo James is supposed to be the heart of the film, but it never fully lands. Theo James himself does what he can with the material, but the writing doesn't give him much to work with. The movie is so focused on its set pieces that the deeper emotional beats feel underdeveloped. One other gripe. There's a growing trend in horror of sprinkling in vague religious imagery without doing anything actually meaningful with it. This movie falls into that trap. It's not as egregious as some, but at this point, if you're gonna throw in cryptic Christian symbolism, at least make it serve a purpose. Otherwise, it just feels like another cheap attempt at adding depth. At the end of the day, The Monkey is at its best when it embraces the chaos. The kills are what makes it fun, and if it had fully leaned into that, it could have been something special. Instead, it tries to layer on emotional weight that doesn't quite stick. It's an entertaining watch, but not one that's going to linger in your mind for long. That being said, I'm officially fascinated in whatever Perkins does next. He has a distinct style for horror, and even when his films don't fully work, they have a personality that sets them apart. Anyway, if you're curious, check it out. It's a weird one. And in the meantime, I've got 2 massive long videos that I've been working on for a long time coming out, so stay tuned for those. One of them will be a rank of Pedro Almodóvar's filmography, and the other one is going to be a rank of all of the Oscar-nominated films this year. Thanks for watching, and while you're at it, go and watch another video after this one. Thanks so much for checking in, and I'll see you all in the next one.